The night on the lake was unnaturally quiet. The water didn't ripple, as if the entire surface had frozen in a breathless stillness. They said this lake was always calm, but tonight the silence had something unsettling, something unnaturally forced. In the very center of the pier lay an abandoned fishing rod, its line bitten as if by a single, brutal yank. Flashes of light flashed in the water, indistinct shapes moving too fast to see. Yet one could sense that these were no ordinary fish. A few kilometers away, in a small town, life had almost come to a standstill. A sign with red lettering hung on the door of the closed port. No contact with water. Biological hazard. But no one could say what had happened. People only whispered quietly about something that had begun at the local fisheries laboratory. About research intended to help increase fish populations, which ended in something so horrific that the lab workers either fled or disappeared. What was found inside is difficult to even describe. The aquariums were filled with fish that no longer resembled anything living. Their eyes had turned completely white, and their gills were moving spasmodically, as if trying to breathe something other than air and water. Their scales were falling off in long strips, revealing gray-green, rotting flesh. According to surveillance footage, the fish began reacting to every movement with unnatural aggression, slamming against the windows with such force that they shattered like thin glass. Alarms sounded one after another, and then suddenly everything went black, as if someone, or something, had shut off the power from within. But let's get back to the lake. Something lurked beneath the surface, something no one should see. In the depths swam fish that should have been dead, some with holes in their skulls, others without eyes, still others torn as if fighting each other. Yet they moved evenly, synchronously, as if guided by a single invisible force. In the center of this rhythmic mass floated a huge pike, the left half of its face completely exposed. Its teeth, too long and jagged, looked as if they had been engorged with flesh from the inside. When it opened its mouth, there was no sound of splashing. A deep, drawn-out moan escaped its throat, something between an animal's and a human's breath. At dawn, a fisherman took his boat out onto the lake. He hoped the stories of fish illness were exaggerated. The lake seemed calm, too calm. As he cast his net, he noticed something floating around him. First one fish, then another, then dozens, all dead, all with white eyes. They formed a wide, slow circle around his boat, and then they all sank simultaneously, as if something beneath them had pulled them down. The boat suddenly lurched from beneath. The wood creaked, as if someone had struck it with a fist. The fisherman froze, listening. The next impact was stronger. Figures appeared underwater, dozens, maybe hundreds, like flashes in the murky darkness. Something circled the boat faster and faster, like a herd of hungry predators. Suddenly, the water around him exploded. Dozens of deformed fish, fast as bullets, shot out from the murky depths. They slammed into the side of the boat, digging into the wood like sharp knives. One of them opened its mouth, revealing rows of jagged teeth, looking more like glass than bone. The boat began to crack. The fisherman lost his balance and fell into the water. He wanted to scream, but the lake closed in on him in an instant. Below the surface, all he saw was a swirl of white eyes, moving erratically but heading straight for him. He felt something tugging at him from every side, claws digging into his legs, the cold bodies of fish wrapping themselves around him, dragging him down. And then, only silence. The lake at dawn looked as it always did, calm, smooth, almost beautiful. There was no sign of the boat, only wet tracks on the shore, as if something had briefly emerged from the water, dragged itself across the ground, and returned. If you got too close, you could see the water ripple slightly just beneath the surface. And when you looked deeper, You could see dozens of white, unblinking eyes, waiting, and no one knew anymore if they were just fish